morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to 2018 Memorial Day exercise. First, I'd like to welcome our honored guests, Mayor Brian Arrigo, Robert A. DeLeo, Speaker of the House, Senator Joseph Moncori, Representative Rosalie Vincent, Revere City Council Jessica Giannino, Council President Arthur Guanasso, Patrick Keith, Joanne McKenna, Council Vice President Stephen Morabito, Ira Novoselsky, Charles J. Patch, John F. Powers, Dan Rizzo, George J. Rotundo, Anthony T. Zambudo, Revere School Committee, Michael M. Ferranti, Secretary Susan J. Gravelisi, Vice Chair Stacy A. Rizzo, Frederick A. Sanella, Carol A. Ty, Vice Chair, Jerry Visconti, Northeast Regional School Committee Member Ronald J. Giannino, distinguished guests, residents of Revere, veterans, Gold Star parents, we welcome you here today. This is a bittersweet day for me. I here to memorialize, and honor our fallen combat soldiers, and at the same time, it hurts because I've lost a few combat soldiers, and so if you've been there, you understand. If you haven't, you can imagine. And it's great to see the patriotism starting to grow in Revere. It's really starting to boom like I hoped it would 2 years ago when I started as Veteran Service Officer. So without further ado, Olivia Frenny, Revere High Class of 2020.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties of all the brooded plains. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Now for the presentation of colors, the Revere High School Junior ROTC Honor Guard. Post. Hey soldiers, take a step forward, towards, up the hill, 101st Doughboys.
March. Left pivot. March. Colors. Halt.
Now for the singing of our national anthem, Maurice and Sonji Neverson of Eagle Heights Church.
Freeze that. Arms.
Maurice, one will be on here.
By the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming,
whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming,
and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night
that our flag was still there.
Oh, say does that spangled banner yet wave?
Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
The brave.
Now I'd like to introduce for our invocation Reverend Daniel Lazaro Pojada from Immaculate Conception Parish.
Morning. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Gracious God, on this Memorial Weekend, we remember and give thanks for those who have given their lives in the service of our country. When the need was greatest, they stepped forward and did their duty to defend the freedoms that we enjoy and to win the same for others. O God, you yourself have taught us that no love is greater than the one which gives itself for one another. This honored death gave the most precious gift they had, life itself, for loved ones and neighbors, for comrades and country, and for us. Help us to honor their memory by caring for the family members they have left behind, by ensuring that their wounded comrades are properly cared for, by being watchful caretakers of the freedoms for which they gave their lives, and by demanding that no other young men and women follow them to a soldier's grave unless the reason is worthy and the cause is just. Heavenly Father, help us to remember that freedom is not free. There are times when its cost is indeed dear. Never let us forget those who pay so terrible a price to ensure that freedom will be our legacy. Though their names may fade with the passing of generations, may we never forget what they have done. Help us to be worthy of their sacrifice. O God, help us to be worthy, and may God bless them and bless our country. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father.
Head pivot. March. Forward. March.
Thank you, Father Daniel. That was beautiful. Over the last 2 years, since taking over the Veteran Service Office, I've come to the mayor with some crazy things to give me extra money to help vets, give me extra money to put them up in a hotel, to get out in the community more. And every time I've gone to the mayor, I've never got a no. And it goes to show, no matter what side or where we stand politically, on days like today, we're here for one reason, and that's for veterans. And I can say wholeheartedly that Mayor Rigo's administration has been behind the veterans of Revere 1,000% over the last 2 years. Without further ado, our Honorable Mayor, Mayor Brian Arrigo.
Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon, everyone. To our invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, this week's paper lists 201 names of soldiers who hailed from Revere and perished during their military service to our nation. Later in today's ceremony, the names of these honored dead will be read aloud. In the few quiet minutes that those names are announced, think please of their sacrifice and what it means. In the words of James A. Garfield, 20th President of the United States, for love of country, they accepted death. In today's society, it's common to lightly consider Memorial Day the beginning of summer. It's a day off of work, a day maybe at the beach, although not today, or a day for a barbecue. But let us not forget that it is the type of day that we all enjoy because of the freedom that we all share. And it was in that defense of freedom that soldiers we honor today lost their lives. This holiday, Memorial Day, is that which the poet Thomas Bailey Aldrich called the most beautiful of our national holidays. The grim cannon have turned into palm branches, and the shell and shrapnel into peach blossoms. Aldrich's words cast a poignant image of the contrast between mankind's aggressions and nature's serenity. When we contemplate those who have gone before us and ponder the somber purpose of ceremonies like this one, we are reminded of the price of our freedom and awed by the daunting prospect of history. Honoring those who died in battle dates back centuries to the ancient Egyptians and Romans. In our nation's history, this day originally honored the 620,000 soldiers who died in the Civil War. After America's entry into World War I, the war to end all wars, the holiday remembrance extended to those killed in all of our nation's battles. And while we praise and honor the brave souls who defended our nation, we must be cautious not to glorify the battles that cost their lives. War is a violent thief, robbing families of loved ones, robbing the young of their dreams, robbing a community of its finest residents. Can we help but wonder about the lives that would have been lived, the goals that would have been achieved, the good that the fallen would have accomplished? Yet in the course of history, circumstances have erupted in such terrible conflict that innocent young soldiers were called into battle. Keep those soldiers clear in your minds and close to your hearts. We are at once thankful, sorrowful, and humbled at the thought of their bravery. And yet we can never escape the bracing reality of how they died. Instead, we are left with the sorrowful loss of our fellow residents, our 201 fellow Revereites. In return, we can only offer our respectful gratitude and the lasting promise that their sacrifice will never be forgotten. On behalf of the City of Revere, I welcome all of you to today's event and thank the effort and commitment to those who organized and participated and will participate in this solemn memorial. I especially want to thank our Director of Veteran Services, Mark Silvestri, for all of his work, and of course his assistant, Donna Driesen, for all their hard work on behalf of the veterans in the City of Revere. I now introduce to you Chloe Giordano. Hold on. Chloe is a Revere High sophomore who was selected by Governor Charlie Baker to read the Governor's Proclamation of Memorial Day. Chloe is among the top-ranked students in her class, a member of the varsity field hockey, basketball, and track teams, and remarkably has maintained perfect attendance in both her freshman and sophomore years. Last year, Chloe organized a GoFundMe page, and she raised money to purchase backpacks that were filled with toiletries and socks that were distributed to homeless veterans. It is my honor and a pleasure to introduce Chloe Giordano.
Whereas while the nation was still recovering from the horrors of the Civil War, people in cities and towns gathered across the country to honor those Union and Confederate soldiers who had given their lives, celebrating the first Decoration Day. And whereas after World War I, the nation came together again to honor those who had fallen in the service of their country. Renamed Memorial Day, the last Monday in May, is when people remember and honor the memory of all the men and women who fought and died in all American wars and conflict. And whereas throughout our country's history, thousands of Massachusetts citizens have fought in wars and conflicts to defend our safety and way of life, and whereas their legacy of patriotism and dedication to country is an inspiration to all Americans, and whereas it is appropriate that all Massachusetts citizens remember the bravery of those who gave their lives, so that their sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. Now therefore, I, Charles D. Baker, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim May 28, 2018 to be Memorial Day, and urge all the citizens of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance. Given at the Executive Chamber in Boston this first day of May in the year 2018, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 241st.
Another gentleman that has never said no to veterans. For many years as the Speaker of the House, before that as a representative, he's always been on the side of vets and fighting for the cause. I believe he enjoys a saying, he never had the opportunity to serve, so giving back up the State House is his opportunity to serve. It goes a little something like that. I'll let him, he says it a lot better than I just did, but it's something like that. Without further ado, the Speaker of the House, Honorable Bob DeLeo.
Mark, that was close enough. And thank you so much for that very, very kind introduction. You know, events like today really give us the opportunity to reflect on the sacrifices of our veterans and reaffirm ourselves to the upholding the ideals they fought so valiantly for. It's through remembrance that we can immortalize the men and women whose efforts to protect their country continue to impact our lives each and every day. On behalf of the Commonwealth, I want to express our gratitude to all the servicemen and women for their loyalty to our great nation. We appreciate the bravery that they have shown. the sacrifices made by their families and their loved ones, and the hugely positive impact that they've made on our nation and its history. We remember all who served. They did so with courage, and they did so with honor. For many, memories of the war may be poignant or painful, but we all want them to know that we have their back. For these reasons, it remains so important that we remain committed to giving back to our veterans. When they come home, we want each and every one of them to know that they will be guaranteed the best services that this nation has to offer. I'm proud of everything Massachusetts has done for its veterans. We rank first in the nation when it comes to assisting our veterans and military personnel, and for that I am truly proud. And I would be extremely remiss if I didn't thank the efforts of Representative Vincent and Senator Boncory to make that possible. Thank you very much. Just last week, we passed the BRAVE Act, which among other things increases both the active duty death benefit and the amount of financial support the state provides for veterans' burial expenses. Recognize that many people in the military have specialized medical training. This legislation also provides a pathway for military personnel to become EMTs once they return home. As you know, my door is always open to hear about what more that we can be doing. And as I stated, that when I took the office as Speaker of the House, I would not let one session go by without us doing something to make sure that we assist our veterans up at the State House. It's an honor to be with you to offer our profound thanks for those serving and those who have served our country over the years, some making the ultimate sacrifice on behalf of our great country. Although we can never fully repay them, we can't keep these brave soldiers from the past and from the present in our thoughts and in our prayers. Thank you for coming together as we honor these courageous men and women of our city today, in our state and our country. May God bless the United States of America, and God bless those who fought and died to keep us free. Thank you very much.
Next, I'd like to introduce another great and new addition to the State House that has been supportive of veterans. And as he was campaigning through Revere, I asked him if he would keep that in his forefront, and he gave me his word he would, and he is yet to let a veteran's vote go by without voting yes on it. Without further ado, our state senator, Senator Joseph Boncory.
Thank you, Mark. Today, on this Memorial Day, we, along with Americans across this great country, take a day off to enjoy our family and friends. However, while we enjoy this day and the opportunity to get away from our everyday stresses, we should never forget why we came to City Hall today. We came here to remember how much was given so that we can enjoy this day and every day in freedom. And we must insist that America remain the land of the free, a land where patriotism trumps the politics of the day, where the American flag is displayed proudly and frequently, and where our military veterans are regarded as our true celebrities. I want to thank the veterans who are with us here today, They will tell you maybe the worst thing about service is the effect that it has on your family. When you enlist, so too does your family. When you go to war, they fight their own war. And often, sometimes when you return, the worst begins. We are fortunate, though, to have those veterans with us here today. They, along with all of us, come here to show our Gold Star families, the families of our fallen soldiers, that we grieve with them, and that their sacrifice their loved ones have made will not be forgotten. And although we can't begin to understand the sadness of our Gold Star families, our presence here today lets them know that their loss is our loss, that their loved ones did not die in vain. On Beacon Hill, we strive as a legislature to honor our fallen by fighting for them and their families. As a state senator, I have the distinct privilege of fighting for our veterans each and every day. And I was proud to join Speaker DeLeo under his leadership, along with Representative Rosalie Vincent, in this past week in passing the BRAVE Act, which provides veterans and the families of veterans the most expansive benefits of any state in this new nation. And we should be proud that the Speaker of the House represents Revere, because it is under his leadership and he referenced it, but it shouldn't be understated. It is under his leadership that each session that he has served as Speaker of the House, he has passed substantial legislation for veterans and their families under Valor Act 1, Valor Act 2, the Home Act, and again, like I said before this week, the BRAVE Act. So thank you to you, Speaker. Thank you very much. But on Beacon Hill and together we strive to honor our fallen by fighting for their loved ones because they no longer can. While there is nothing unpatriotic about a barbecue today or enjoying the day off, we should all make it a point to reflect on the luxury of this freedom that we enjoy. Let us remember today and every day that tyrannical regimes have toppled and genocides have been stopped because Americans have sacrificed life and limb. Let us remember that without a U.S. military, the world would be a far more darker and oppressive place. And let us remember that freedom has never had a greater friend than the American soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, or Coast Guardsman. We must pledge today and every day to honor and remember those who gave all for our freedom. We must take the time, not just on Memorial Day, but every day, to say thank you. I'm proud to represent a city like Revere, where our mayor and city council have stood up and gone out of their way for veterans and the families of veterans. I'm proud to represent a gentleman like your Veteran Service Officer, Mark Silvestri, who each and every day continues his service to this country and epitomizes through his service the sacrifices that all veterans make in his day-to-day work. Thank you, Mark. And I want to thank all you for being here. May God bless our fallen heroes, their families, and may God continue to bless this great country of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And again, another great friend that we have here in Revere at the State House. A woman that holds, she's not shy, she'll let you know. She barks and she follows it up a little bit too. When she has a cause to fight for, she fights. And veterans are a cause she helps fight for. And I'd like to thank and introduce our representative, Rosalie Vincent.
Good morning, everyone. I just would like to also thank our new veterans agent, Mark. He's been doing an amazing job, and I'm really so proud of him and how far he's taken the veterans services in the city of Revere. So thank you so much, Mark. Members of the veteran service organizations, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm deeply honored to be here this morning to pay tribute to our fallen heroes. You know, it's with deep respect and gratitude that we gather each year on this lawn to reflect and pay tribute to those who've lost their lives, the courageous men and women who answered the call of duty, served in harm's way for the sake of our great nation. Sadly, in the course of our nation's short history, more than 1 million men and women have made the ultimate sacrifice in America's wars to preserve the freedoms that we enjoy today. They gave so much to bring greater security and safety to our country and to many other places around the world. They are the few to whom we owe so much. Memorial Day is also about reflecting on the lives of the veterans who have passed on after military service. We remember Revere's veterans who were our friends, our family, our neighbors. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention a few of my family. My grandfather, Joseph Janino, served in World War I. My father, Carmine Piscopio, and my father-in-law, Gilbert Joseph Vincent, both fought in World War II. And my dear, dear late brother-in-law, Danny Vincent, a former Revere police officer who has a monument somewhere here on this very lawn. He passed. He was a Vietnam veteran, a disabled veteran, and he fought valiantly in Vietnam. He was one of the lucky ones who did come home, but he never forgot that war in Vietnam, and I think it haunted him until the day he died. I'd also like to bring attention to the memorial monument, and I say it every year because Revere's own Eileen Marullo took it upon herself to present and to work very hard to honor Revere women who have served in the military. So for that, I thank Eileen Marullo wherever she may be. You know, every person on these memorials that you see around you has a story. They were young men and women who went to war because they believed in what our country stands for. And with cherished moments, we won't forget them and will always hold them in our hearts forever. So today serves as both a tribute to those servicemen and women who have gone before us and an opportunity for us to reaffirm our commitment to the values that they died fighting for. So I hope today when we leave here, we'll continue to quietly honor the memory of the fallen by supporting our nation's veterans today. So with this in mind, I would like to say thank you and honor all those who are here with us who served. If you could please stand up, and I just want to say thank you for your service and thank you for your service to your country. Thank you. Thank you for answering our calls and protecting our freedoms. Thank you. And in closing, may I say God bless you, your families. May God bless our troops. And of course, may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Vincent. So, this year, as I was sitting trying to think of who I could bring in, what colonel, what injured veteran, captain. My mind just kept racking. Who could I get? Who could I get? Who could I get? One phone call after another. Committed it somewhere, committed to another place. I finally sat back and I was thinking to myself, you know, as you've seen the Doughboy soldiers here today, and with this being the 100th year anniversary of the end of World War I kind of wanted to put Revere's touch on World War I. And I thought no better person to do that than a historian, a longtime teacher, a great friend to many Revere residents, and a great friend to the Revere Veterans Office, Rumney Marsh Burial Ground Committee, and Revere Historical Committee. Without further ado, Professor Jeff Perlman. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mark. Speaker DeLeo, Senator Boncory, Representative Vincent, Mayor Arrigo, Honorable School Committee, City Councilors, ladies and gentlemen. Last month, President Emmanuel Macron of France visited Washington. He arrived with a gift for President Trump, a 4-foot oak sapling to be planted on the White House lawn. This was an historic gesture, for the sapling came from the site of the Battle of Belleau Wood, when in June 1918, American forces suffered 10,000 casualties and 1,800 were killed. Ladies and gentlemen, the number of Marines killed at Belleau Wood on that day was more than the total number of Marines killed in all of our previous wars. This year, 2018, commemorates the centennial to the ending of World War I. I have the honor this morning to talk with you about this historic event. My brief remarks will focus on 3 topics. First, World War I itself. Secondly, the last days of the bloody conflict. And finally, Revere's role in the war's conclusion. Barbara Tuchman wrote in her Pulitzer Prize-winning book, The Guns of August, and I quote, "In the midst of war and crisis, nothing is as clear or as certain as it appears in hindsight." End quote. We were taught in school that on June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, was shot to death along with his wife by a Bosnian Serb, Gavrilo Princip, a Slavic nationalist. 1 month later, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, and soon, like falling dominoes, the major countries of Europe were declaring war themselves. Russia supported Serbia, and on August 1st, France joined Russia in mobilizing their forces. Germany, allying itself with Austria-Hungary, declared war on France. When the Germans invaded Belgium on August 3rd, Great Britain, Belgium's ally, declared war on the Kaiser. Most of Europe rejoiced at the outbreak, foolishly believing their side would be victorious within months. The war dragged on through 1915 and 1916 with little ground gained by neither the Central Powers nor the Allies. By 1917, the Russian army became demoralized and surrendered to Germany while establishing a communist government in the future Soviet Union. In 1918, the infusion of American troops and resources on the Western Front finally tipped the scales for the Allies. And on November 11, 1918, Germany agreed to an armistice. The 4-year conflict was called the Great War, the war to end all wars, and the war that would make the world safe for democracy. How naive and perhaps ignorant the European leaders as well as President Wilson were at believing these fallacies. We know, of course, that it was not a war that ended all wars. For just a generation later, no thanks to the horrible Treaty of Versailles, another horrific world war would commence. Furthermore, President Wilson advocated that there be self-determination in countries that had been colonies of France and Britain. One huge mistake was when a slightly built man from a small Asian country attempted to get an audience to plead his country's case for self-determination. Ignored by President Wilson and the other leaders, he went home disappointed. This little man's name was Ho Chi Minh, and his country was a part of French Indochina known as Vietnam. At 11 o'clock on the morning of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, the Great War ended. Ferdinand Foch, Commander-in-Chief of all Allied forces, sent a message to all commanders. Quote, hostilities will cease on the entire front on November 11th at 11 a.m. French time. End quote. The historian John Buchan has written of this memorable morning. Quote, officers had their watches in their hands, and the troops waited with the same grave composure with which they had fought. As watch hands reached 11, there came a second of expectant silence. Then a curious rippling sound, which observers far behind the front likened to the noise of a light wind. It was the sound of men cheering from the mountains to the sea. End quote. The Great War took the lives of 9 million soldiers. 21 million more were wounded. Civilian casualties numbered some 10 million, and Germany and France sent some 80% of their male population into battle. On this date in 1918, the dominant emotion for many was relief at the coming of peace, mixed with somber mourning of the lives lost. Lieutenant Louis Plush of the American Expeditionary Force under General Pershing wrote about the war's impact. Quote, there was a war, a great war, and now it's over. Men fought to kill, to maim, to destroy. Some return home, others remain behind forever on the fields of their greatest sacrifice. The rewards of the dead are the lasting honors of martyrs for humanity. The reward of the living is the peaceful conscience of one who plays the game of life and plays it square. Our city of Revere should stand proudly for the role we played during the Great War. The Revere Journal, during the war years, often listed the names of our citizens who went overseas. On July 6, 1918, there was this article, quote, on Monday morning, another departure of the drafted men is to be made from Revere, and there will be a large gathering at Revere City Hall in the morning to give them a rousing send-off. The departure will probably be made in automobiles secured by Mayor Alfred Hall from volunteers. The men leaving Monday are assigned to Fort Slocum. A group of Boy Scouts will assemble at the railroad station at Revere Beach in honor of the departing delegation, and after hearty handshakes by officials, there will be 3 rousing cheers just before the train departs. 4 months earlier, the Revere Journal from March 1918 sadly reported our first losses. Frank Ericola, 21 years old, a member of Pershing's AEF. John Edward Butler, 23, and James Terrence Sweeney, both of whom drowned in November 1917 as a result of an attack on the American destroyer Jacob James by a German submarine. And Carl Willard Mabee, who died at Camp Hancock, Augusta, Georgia, from pneumonia, age 25. Many of us remember the small school, the Mabee School, named in his honor, that stood for years in Oak Island. Approximately a week after the war's end, our city held what was called a victory parade. In the November 16th edition of the Revere Journal, it was described as follows. The Victory Day celebration in Revere was a splendid success, and in every way the finest event that has taken place in connection with the war activities for the past year or so. The day was a general holiday throughout Revere as well as other parts of the state, and the weather was perfect for the afternoon parade. The plans for the parade were all made in about 24 hours, and considering the very limited time, it was a remarkable demonstration of the great interest Revere people are taking in connection with the war activities. Mayor Alfred Hall called the meeting Monday at 11 a.m. at City Hall. And at that time, plans were made for the big parade, and everybody present did as much as possible to bring about the big success. About 5,000 people, including the school children, participated in the procession, and the many unique features hurriedly arranged were the cause of considerable comment all over the city. There were decorations in different parts of the city, and flags flying from nearly all the houses. Thousands viewed the parade. A good start began at Beachmont Station at 2:30 in the afternoon and didn't reach City Hall until after 4. Captain Ernest Acker of the Revere Company of State Guards was Chief Marshal. The school children made a very attractive feature and included students from Immaculate Conception and from all the Revere public schools. The route of the parade started at Beachmont Station to Elliott Circle, Revere Beach Boulevard down to Shirley Avenue, then down North Shore Road to Revere Street, and then to Broadway, ending at City Hall. Ex-Mayor Arthur Curtis was also at City Hall. The review was over at 4:40 p.m., and the hour was so late it was decided not to have speakers, which had been part of the plan. In conclusion, allow me to read a poem written by Lieutenant Colonel and physician John McCrae of the Canadian Forces, entitled In Flanders Fields. In Flanders fields the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, we felt dawn, and saw sunset glow. We were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from falling hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my hope that in the future we learn the lessons of history so that we might never again make the same mistakes that caused World War I. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my hope that only men and women of good character, a sense of morality, and a knowledge of history occupy the Oval Office. And ladies and gentlemen, it is my prayer that the greatest country in the world, along with the democracies of Western Europe, shall always stand and oppose any fascist, totalitarian dictatorships wherever they may arise. Thank you, and God bless the United States of America.
Awesome job.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I left you the Civil War and the beginning reading.
I'll be up there. Yep.
Thank you, Professor Perlman. That was awesome. Next, we have a special treat. Wayland School has sent an ensemble of students to come bless us with some patriotic songs today. And without further ado, the Wayland School Elementary Ensemble. Awesome job, kids. Great job. For many years, it's been a tradition to lay wreaths on Memorial Day, Veterans Day, and military events and ceremonies. So if I could have Mayor Rigo to come up. Chambers, you guys ready? Okay. So we're going to have a wreath placed at each memorial around the Legion lawn for the names that are on that stone. And like I said, it's a special tradition carried on throughout military and veteran events. We will also be placing one down at the Rumney Marsh Burial Ground later today. So, as you can see, the JRTC is helping us by posting up and around. You keep going this way. Big statue in front. Now, if we could have the readers, please come up. Bill Reedy, Mickey Gasoli, Captain Sean Conley, Jeff Perlman, Lenny, Mr. Perlman, you're first.
The following soldiers are interred at the Rumney Marsh Burial Ground. Colonial Wars: Captain John Smith, Lieutenant Jonathan Bill, Lieutenant Joseph Hassey, Lieutenant John Floyd, Ensign Hugh Floyd, Ensign Joseph Belcher, and Ensign John Center. Interred from the Revolutionary War: Thomas Pratt, Samuel Sprague, Philip Payson, Abijah Hastings, Joseph Green, William Lowe, Edward Waite, William Oliver, Moses Collins, James Tewksbury, Andrew Tewksbury, Nathaniel Belcher, Job Warrow, Samuel Cheever. From the War of 1812, Abner Gay, Abijah Floyd, John Green, and Stephen Green. And from the Civil War, William Cook, Louis Bullard, Thomas Kerwin, Daniel Kahn, Joseph Pratt, Harrison Reed, Joshua White, Cornelius Nye, Caleb Russell, William Carr, Jeff Cole, and a memorial to a Congressional Medal of Honor recipient, Charles James Bibber.
The following soldiers died in World War I. Following veterans, excuse me. Max Achenbach, William Batstone, John Breen, Charles Brown, John R. Butler, William J. Butler, Epolucho Cerrone, Joseph W. Chamberlain, Pasquale Colangelo, Douglas Cummings, Joseph D'Italia, Frank P. DePisa, Richard D. Donnelly, Francis J. Driscoll, Frank Ericolo, John F. Fitzpatrick, Charles N. Fredericks, William H. Hartley, Raymond Lawrence, Paul W. Mabey, Samuel P. Mahoney, Richard R. Marshall, John Mooney, William Murphy, John Pisa, Louis Sandler, Samuel Sandler, Albert W. Smith, James T. Sweeney, William Ungavatsky, Earl B. Welch.
Mickey.
Which war continued to World War One?
Huh?
World War One continued.
Okay. World War I continued. Joseph Joyce Jr., Isidore Kaplan, Harold Kendall, Christopher H. Kenny, Hubert H. King, Alfred Nisnik, Alwyn Knowles, John E. Knox, Carol L. Kuma, Thomas F. Landry, Stephen M. Langoni, Simon Lee, John J. Lehman, Raymond Lapori, Herbert Levine, Douglas J. McDonald, Andrew Mantine, Paul S. Mazowski, John W. Mistret, John J. Mastromarino, John M. Mayer Jr., Charles McCluskey, Robert McDonald, Charles McMacken, Joseph Messina, John H. Minicino, Irving Mintz, Seymour A. Molin, Frank A. Molino, Dominic D. Mora, Joseph J. Matola, Joseph O'Brien, Christopher Paragoni, Edward Parsons, Kenneth Patnoff, Lugo Panacchio, Francis N. Petro, and William Pigeon.
The start of World War II.
World War II. Warren E. Allen, William E. Allen, Frank J. Alvano, Salvatore J. Begnulo, Frederick C. Baldwin, Joseph Beater, Michael Begley, Edward Bloom, Philip F. Boyd, William S. Boyd, James L. Brandano, Italo J. Breda, Leroy E. Brown, Robert P. Brown, Milton Bubis, Francis Burns, Richard J. Chouinard, Loftus L. Kit Christensen, Alfred J. Conley, John A. Conley, Lloyd F. Coolidge, Adolph F. Cormier, Eugene Cossia, Wilfred F. Cody,
Robert E. Carter, Salvatore Crivello, Paul W. Cronin, William J. Croft, Robert Cummings, Robert P. Puzo, Frederick E. Deegan, Victor D. Giuliano, James V. DeMarco, Thomas DeSisto, Albert DeStupe.
Veterans, World War II. Antonio Di Gregorio, Augustine A. Di Pietro, Dante Di Prezio, Arthur DeStatio, Peter DeStatio, Daniel F. Doris, Charles D. Dugan, George A. Ewell, John Familetti, Robert Fitchett, Samuel Fellman, Christopher Ragamo, Charles J. Fritz, John V. Fitzgerald, John H. Foley, Francis J. Foley, Nicholas Fermatino, Howlett A. Frazier Jr., Edward H. Freeman, Harry Garrity, Harold Gay, Edward Z. Zillman, Robert Gladstone, Samuel Gordon, Joseph Garfinkel, Julius Greenberg, John F. Hannigan, Joseph H. Harrington, Kenneth G. Harrington, David P. Hartigan Jr., Herbert S. Hill Jr., James J. Hill, George Herbert, Joshua R. Howard, Maurice W. Holden, John F. Hurley, William A. Janvin Jr., Charles F. Jensen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Captain Sean Conley, United States Marine Corps, retired. Excuse me, Colonel.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Conley. And because my reading is just going to be so recent, I know there are people out there who are going to recognize these names. So I think I really have to say something. It was my unfortunate duty when I was in the Marine Corps to be what they call a casualty assistance officer. The Marine Corps policy is that the casualties families were not notified by letter, telephone call. They were represented. The first contact was going to be a Marine Corps officer in dress blues. That was my duty for a while, and that was, so reading this is all too familiar. And I only mention this because I could never tell you, and I know there's people out there. I'm sorry. Okay.
Talk into the mic.
I only mention this because to those that are out there, and I know you're there, I could never tell you, a wife, mother, child, that I feel your pain. That's impossible. I could never say that. I could not even dare to tell you that I understand your pain. That too is impossible. But what I can do is to tell you that I have witnessed firsthand your indescribable pain. And it's just that, indescribable. As a parent of 3 young lads and a daughter, I can't even imagine seeing someone like myself walking up the driveway. I can't imagine it. So when I read the names of a loved one, please understand that I'm not just reading names. I'm sorry, I should take it. I'm not just reading names. I'm seeing your faces and the faces of all those who suffered so much because of their hero. the heroes gave their last full measure, as Abraham Lincoln would have said, in defense of our freedom, our liberty, and our honor. With that, I'll read the names. With that, I'll read the names. Keep here. James F. Quinlan, Fred L. Raymond, Carmen M. Rapucci, Alfred S. Romero, Harold Rosenbaum, Melvin E. Rosenberg, Samuel L. Rabinovitz, Armando Ruggiero, Alexander A. Russo, Anthony G. Scarno, Salvatore P. Scafati, John A. Scafata, Thomas H. Shaughnessy, Gerald P. Shaughnessy, Irving P. Sherman, George H. Singer, Kenneth G. Snow, Peter Stamulus, Edward Steinman, Robert Struthers, George C. Sullivan, John Sullivan, Gerald Swirling, Carl M. Tomajan, Sidney Teresen, Raymond Veneta, Thomas Von Holsten, Israel Weinberg, Woodrow W. Wilkins, V. Howard Woodrow, Harry Sassman, Milton L. Zellner.
Can you take this? Can you take this and bang? I got a few of you. Just trade spots. I need you to hit the bell. I need you to hit the bell.
Korean War. Shirley B. Andrews, Hugo F. Carroza, Frank Chodero, Gerald Chapio, Joseph O'Cannon, Bernard Canallen, Bernard Kaninsky, Robert Morrow, William Shaviri, Walter Smart, Vietnam conflict, Kenneth G. Brown, Robert L. Blasi, James L. Delmont, Sebastian E. DeLuca, Martin L. Gillespie, M. J. Glazier, Arthur R. LeGros, John M. Glazier, Alan J. O'Brien, Walter S. Olinsky, Stephen J. Penter, Thomas W. Witten, Robert Carl Levine. Our Global War on Terrorism, Daniel F. Cunningham, Matthew J. Stanley, Nelson Ramirez, Lawrence Salamoni, Glenn Michael Sewell, Ryan King, Malcolm McLeod, Jared Gleave, Kyle McGrill, Kyle M. McGrill, Kyle M. McGrill. Thank you. If we can now have the presentation of colors from the Revere Fire Department. Honor Guard post. A volley from the Revere Police Department. Playing of taps by Captain of United States Army, Vietnam veteran, Revere resident, Paul Amaral.
Echo. It's okay.
To give our benediction is Pastor Tim from the First Congregational Church. Pastor Tim has worked hand in hand with the Veterans Office for food banks and giving need, introducing me to vets in need and whatnot. Without further ado, to give our benediction, Pastor Tim Borgman.
Let's pray. Lord God, we come before you today as we remember the brave men and women in our armed services who have died in defense of our nation. Those who willingly went into harm's way and paid the ultimate sacrifice for the freedom that we enjoy today. We take this day to stop from our usual routines and our lives to remember what they have done with gratitude and respect. And we never forget what they have done for us. We also remember today and pray for the family members who have lost loved ones and who continue to grieve the loss of those who have given their lives. Lord, may you bring them comfort on this day. As they remember, may you give them strength to face another year or day with the family member that they so dearly loved. And may you give them the blessing of your peace in their daily lives, and may you bring healing to their broken hearts. And for all of us gathered here today, may we take this moment of appreciation and thankfulness to those who gave their lives by living lives that live up to their honor and to their memory. May our lives reflect the passion and courage and sacrifice that they showed in service of our country. And Lord, I pray for our country that you would preserve us and that the deaths of those who gave their lives will not be taken in vain. We pray that we as a nation will continue to fight and stand for what is right and just and true. And they will protect those who are currently serving in our armed forces to preserve our freedoms. Give them courage and strength for the tasks they face each day. And we pray for our veterans who are here present, that you will bless their lives and encourage all the battles they face in their daily lives ahead. Lord, you remind us greater love has no one than this, and to lay down their lives for their friends. With thankfulness in our hearts, we here today pay tribute and remember those who gave their lives for us as a grateful nation. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
I appreciate it.
That just about wraps things up. we have a couple of memorial dedications we'd like to present real quick. Mayor Rigo, if you could come up. Our first memorial that we will present is going to a family member of Korean War veteran and a longtime city employee, Karen Duzevich. This here memorial sign will be placed in front of their home. Karen and family, could you come up and receive your memorial pole? Thank you.
She was supposed to be. No. No, Karen? Okay. Yeah. You hold it. What's that? Just hold it here.
And then we get one more. I know they're here. This one goes out to another Korean War Navy veteran. His wife, Tony, I believe is here, along with his daughter, or niece maybe, Miss Esposito. If you could come up and get your war memorial for your husband, Gerald J. Esposito. Yeah, this one's for you. Okay. This one hits home a little bit. I had the pleasure of knowing this young gentleman. He played baseball with my younger brother. I then had the opportunity to coach them both at Revere High during football. At the age 19, after graduating Revere High School, Airman Lawrence Salamone gave his life serving this country. He was aboard the USS Bataan, and for paying the ultimate sacrifice to our great nation and your family, whose price we realize with great gratitude for recognition is hereby conferred upon the Gold Star family of Airman Lawrence Salamone. The certificate is presented by the Mayor of Revere, Massachusetts, and the Director of Revere Veteran Services on behalf of the citizens of Revere, 28th day of May in the year of our Lord, 2018, of the first independence of the United States of America, 241st. Could I have the Gold Star family of Lawrence Salamone please come up? Okay, I ask and invite everyone that's here to join us inside for a collation inside the Legion. It's hosted by the VFW Post in Beachmont. And to give us a little send-off, again, Maurice and Sanji Neversum with America the Beautiful.
fruited plain. Oh, America, America, God shed His grace upon thee, oh, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, yeah.
Oh, beautiful for the spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for the purple mountain majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed